Hey everyone, this is George from DinosaurGeorge.com. All right, Jeffery from Calmette, Louisiana. I think I pronounced that right, Calmette, Louisiana. In most movies, sharks are shown as bloodthirsty monsters that stop at nothing to get to human prey. But in reality, they only attack humans when provoked or mistake them for seals. Can the same be said for dinosaurs? Most movies show them as bloodthirsty monsters that stop at nothing to catch their human prey. But do you think that if a dinosaur came across a human, would it act as a shark? And would it only attack if it was provoked? Or do you think humans would be hunted as prey? Jeffrey, this is a very, very interesting question. This is a really good one. First of all, I completely agree with you. It is frustrating that when you see shows about sharks, they're always out to kill anything they come in contact with. And the same can be said for all dinosaur movies. That's simply done because it makes the movie more exciting. Nobody wants to see a shark movie where the shark flees from humans and never attacks. So that's why that happens. But to your point, here's what I think would happen if humans had come in contact with dinosaurs. I think all predatory animals, and this includes prehistoric ones, the successful ones are those that are cautious about what they do. They don't just simply dive headfirst into something that moves and then hope that it turns out to be something edible. They're relatively cautious. We see on television how predators like lions and cheetahs and tigers are attacking animals, but those animals that they're attacking are animals that they're familiar with, animals that are their prey, and they're born to attack them. But once in a while you see a show where you see something as vicious as a lion very cautiously approach something that it doesn't recognize. That's what makes a successful predator. Predators that simply dive headfirst into the first thing that moves are usually predators that don't last and don't survive very long. I think dinosaurs would be the same. Now, dinosaurs probably didn't have the ability to reason and rationale a lot of things, but it doesn't matter. They still would have been cautious if they saw something that they've never seen before, something they weren't familiar with, because they don't know what kind of defensive weapons they had. So if a dinosaur like Tyrannosaurus Rex would have seen a human, chances are it would have just simply disregarded us, first of all, because we're just so small. It's not going to go out of its way to chase around a chicken nugget. It's not that interested. Smaller predators like raptors, now those guys may have certainly taken an interest to us, or in us, and certainly may have approached, and if they considered us to be a food source, then they would have attacked. So I agree with you. I think that it would not have been an instantaneous thing. I think if they would have attacked at all, they certainly would have been very cautious about how they did it. All right, Ahad, my buddy from Alberta, Canada. Hey, DG. I watched a video where Dr. Thomas Holtz Jr. in the video said that Spinosaurus's claws were large and powerful enough to tear apart a car. Is that true? P.S. Thanks for answering my last question, and you are super awesome, fantastic. I appreciate that very much. You guys have to remember, when somebody like Dr. Holtz, who I respect considerably, this guy's, man, he is truly on the cutting edge of knowing information about, especially predatory dinosaurs, but all dinosaurs, but certainly predators. When he makes a comment that says that Spinosaurus's claws were large and powerful enough to rip apart a car, he doesn't mean that literally. He doesn't mean that if it grabbed a car, it could rip it to shreds. That's more of a way to kind of explain to the average person what he's referring to. If he said they were strong enough to rip apart a dinosaur, that doesn't, people don't have a connection. What does that mean? But when he says they could rip apart a car, he's simply using the car as an example because it's something everybody is familiar with. Yes, that dinosaur could rip apart a car, but it certainly never would. But let's say that they live today. They certainly had the ability. What he's referring to is that those claws are strong enough and powerful enough to, if nothing else, at least tear big gaps into the metal of a car. So I wouldn't take it, I wouldn't take his comments, if he said that, I wouldn't say that he really meant that it could tear apart a car. I think he's just simply using that as an analogy to help you understand just how massive those claws were. All right, Martin from Chicago, Illinois. Hey, DG, me again, Martin. Always good to hear from you. He said, I haven't talked to you in a while. How have you been? I've been very good, Martin. I've been very busy, but I've loved the fact that over this last couple of weeks, I've been able to answer a lot more questions, so things are great. He said, anyway, why do people say hadrosaurs don't have weapons when they can easily ram their massive bodies against the hollow bones of a theropod. Well, Martin, you're right, and I am guilty of saying that in the past. In fact, recently, one of the episodes I just did, I said that hadrosaurs have no weapons. What I mean by weapons, when we think of weapons, we really refer to things like horns and clubs and spikes and that sort. Well, the hadrosaurs don't possess those, but it doesn't mean that they were completely and absolutely vulnerable to every attack. That tail is enormous and was packed in muscle and could have been wielded like a giant baseball bat. So certainly hadrosaurs had the ability to defend themselves. They weren't defenseless, but they didn't have the kind of weapons that could really be effective in a full-on confrontation. That tail would only be effective if he had his back to the predator, and that puts him in a pretty bad position. So, yes, he has weapons. He's not as well defended as other dinosaurs, but I would say that the most effective way that he could use that tail is if he's running and being chased and he has the ability to swing that tail and knock the attacker off his feet. But that's a good point, Martin, and I'm glad you brought that up, and I hope that corrects my error when I said they have no defense. All right, Ryan from Nottingham, England. Hey, George. Many people say that because dinosaurs like Tyrannosaurus rex had short arms, it must have been difficult for it to rest. But I disagree, and I think that it would have had a rest like a chicken and stood up using the muscles in its legs. But what do you think? Well, Ryan, I agree. Excuse me, everyone. I get so frustrated when people look at these animals and make these comments about, you know, it couldn't get up if it fell down, or that dinosaur couldn't drink, or that dinosaur couldn't raise his head above his shoulders. I look at that and I go, that sounds interesting, but did anybody tell the animals that? I mean, it's absurd to believe that a Tyrannosaurus would have problems resting. That dinosaur was around for millions of years and was incredibly successful. It didn't do it by having an inefficient body. This animal had the ability to sleep any way it wanted. It had the ability, if it fell down, to get right back up again. The idea that it spelled its doom if it fell down is just absurd. Why do you think they were around for so long? It's because they were very successful animals. And being successful means you have the ability to do all kinds of things to survive. I think it's possible that these dinosaurs did kind of sort of sleep like a chicken, to your point. If you've ever seen a chicken sleep, it simply folds up its legs and squats down and sits. Now remember that these dinosaurs have an enormous bone called the pubis bone. We call it the pubis boot. It's that big bone that hangs between its legs that kind of has a flattened body. It appears that they may have even sat down and sort of rested on that, sort of the reverse of a way a kangaroo sits back and rests on his tail. He may have kind of splayed his legs and kind of squatted down and had his own built-in rocking chair. But whatever the case, Ryan, these guys were absolutely more than capable of laying down, getting up, standing up, running, jumping, whatever they had to do to survive. And I think it's fine that people question how efficient it was, but at the end of the day, you got to look at one thing, and that is you got to realize that these guys were around for millions of years, and they were successful because of their body design. All right, finally, I think this is Stephan. I don't think it's Stephen. I think it's Stephan from London, England. If it's not, I apologize, my friend. He says, "Hi, DG. I love your Jurassic Fight Club program. My question is, how did creatures like lizards and other small creatures survive the extinction of the dinosaurs?" Well, first of all, Stephan, or Stephen, however you pronounce it, thank you very much for your kind words about Jurassic Fight Club. You know, that's the big mystery, my friend, is why did so many animals survive the extinction of the dinosaurs? We can ponder why the dinosaurs died, and that's very exciting, but at the end of the day, the question is, why did so many things survive if this event was so cataclysmic? The best guess I have is that their small size allowed them to take shelter for an extended period of time, whereas some of the bigger animals didn't have that ability. That's my best guess. We just don't know, my friend. All right, everybody, if you've got a question, go to my website, dinosaurgeorge.com, fill out the Ask Dinosaur George page and send it to me. For you young people out there, please practice your reading. I'd like for you to be the best readers you can be. And for everybody out there, let's always use good manners. It makes the world a better place. Talk to you guys soon.